lot of men actually likes the light on because they like to see what they're working with, right? But it's we women, let's off the light, oh, let's close the door, is somebody hearing, let's keep quiet. You are killing the mood, ma. You are killing the mood, ma. When you get into marriage, you are praying for God to give you a man that can last for a long time. But you see what you forgot to pray about is God will give you the strength and the energy to be able to take the durability. Because the next point I have here is that long lasting. I'm sorry. You see, hey guys, welcome back to my YouTube channel. My name is Victoria Edelefa. If it's your first time here, thank you so much for joining me. For a new subscriber, you know I love you, I appreciate you so much. Thank you for always coming back. All right, so today I want us to talk about sex. Yes, I want us to talk about some of the mindsets that many of us get into marriage with, expecting sex to be. Okay, I know I've done a video like this in my very first months of marriage, but the more I get into marriage, the more I realize that there were lots of things that I thought sex is going to be in marriage that it really isn't. Yes, and I want to be talking about those things with you guys. And one of the reasons again that I always talk about this is because I believe that sex is God's idea. God created sex. God created sex for us to enjoy in marriage, but because of the perversion of sex, it's become difficult for people to experience the joy and the intimacy that God planned for us to experience with sex, okay, in marriage, right? So yes, because sex is not a topic that is often discussed in our place of worship, I think now a lot of churches are actually trying in Africa, they're trying to be more open and flexible about discussing stuff like that, but we are not there yet. But I think we are way closer than we were 3 years ago when I started this channel, right? Okay, so today I want us to talk about some of the mindsets and myths that we get into marriage with, expecting sex to be like, okay, or some of the thoughts or some of the ideas that we had about sex when we get into marriage, right? So if this is something that you find interesting, please make sure you keep on watching, okay? All right, now, so the first thing I'm going to talk about is that men have a higher sexual drive than women. I don't know where we got this mindset from. I think it's because it's also because we always see like I said in the other video, I did a video about things I wish I knew about sex before marriage, right? That video got a lot of views, so many comments, a lot of men under the video saying they need to send this video to their wives, and wives coming to say, hey, these are things that I never thought about sex in marriage and things I'm experiencing in my marriage, and people don't talk about it, right? So if you've not watched that video, I'm going to leave it linked up here. But in that video I mentioned that most times a lot of women go into marriage thinking about sex is for the other person, right? So we've always heard from childhood, I know when I was growing up, right, that men are the one who are always sexually driven. They have a high sexual drive. Men cheat because they cannot control themselves. Men's sexual drive is so high, that's all they think of day and night, and blah blah blah, okay? But recently, if you use the Flow app, right? I don't know how many of you, if you're a woman, you probably know what the Flow app means. So, in the Flow app, they have a secret chat. And when the secret chat, they usually ask questions, and then women respond, because Flow app is like an app you use to track your ovulation, your period, and stuff like that. And one of the questions I were asked was, who initiates sex the most in your relationship? And in that more than 70% of them are women. Women are the one who actually go to initiate sex in marriage. Now, there are lots of factors and reasons that contribute to this. One thing I've come to realize is that because a lot of women we've been told to be conservative about sex before marriage, we don't really express ourselves, okay? So you get into marriage expecting to now it's you unleash yourself, right? But you see, the problem is for guys, before they got married, for those who are not in Christ, okay, they explore, they do all of that, okay? And at that time, there is no bills to think of, there's no children to think of, there's no provision to think of, they don't have a lot of things in their head. They now get into marriage, all of a sudden there's bills, there's children, there's school fees, there's this and that they have to think of, and that kind of your mind affects your sex drive, right? So I believe, and that's a theory I have, that when they get into marriage, suddenly they are wild sexual side starts to diminish because of responsibilities on them. Not to say that women don't have responsibilities in marriage. I'm just saying that this is just one of the theory that I think is one of the reasons for that. But what we realize that in marriage, women are more demanding when it comes to intercourse in most homes, not in every homes, okay? I'm not saying in every homes, but looking at that chart, right, of course a lot of them are not married, right? But you realize that, and if you go to like the chat where people are actually talking, you see a lot of women saying that they feel so embarrassed, right? Gosh, that's the next point. I don't want to get into that here, because they realize that they are always in the mood and the man is not. But because we expect, societal standard has told us that the man is the one who should always be in the mood and always want it, when you want it more, we kind of feel like, especially if you're a Christian, you feel like, oh, something is wrong with me. But it's not true, okay? Let me tell you something. Depending on your age, there's a certain age you get to that your body would be, you will not even understand what is going on. Your body will just be requesting for it every time, because we have something in our body called hormones. And let me tell you something, those hormones can go crazy at certain times of your life, right? So when you're younger, it's not as crazy as it is. I'm telling you, girls in puberty and stuff, they think they have high sex drive. Let them get into their closer to 30, 40 and the rest of them. Then you will know what exactly sex drive is, when your hormones are going crazy. And even, you know, those in your, when you get to your 20, your 25 and the rest of it, your body starts to like change. You realize that you're desiring more sex, you're desiring affection and stuff like that, especially at certain times of the month, right? So like for 2 weeks, maybe you're ovulating, pre-ovulation, during ovulation and post-ovulation, your body is just, you know, requesting for it and stuff. So I feel like, so when we give excuses for men that cheat and say it's because men has crazy sexual drive, I'm telling you, women have, there are a lot of women, and I think that if we really put it in the scale, most women they have a lot more sex drive than the men. It's just that we've been taught to like we've been taught or brought up to like diminish that side of us. That's why it's not really like a rampant thing, right? But trust me, if sex drive was a reason to cheat, a lot of women should have the liberty to do that in their marriage, because yeah, and I'm telling you from experience, yeah. Yeah, anyways, let's move on. The next myth that, you know, a lot of us go into marriage thinking is that, oh, that I especially went into marriage thinking was that erection is the same thing as arousal. Now this is for your guy, this is for your husband, right? I don't know, I always thought that when a man is standing, it means he wants to do it. So I realized that every time when I just got married, every time I feel like I feel like, God, I have to do. And my husband, of course, he will take the pleasure now, he will collect. But one day he had to sit with me and tell me that you realize that it's not every time that, you know, that happens that you really have to. I'm like, really? And then he started to educate me that it's not every time. There are a lot of things that causes a man to be up and standing, right? So for instance, I remember there was a time in one church program we had and the pastor was talking about, oh, the sex is always in the mind of the man, and that's why he's always having erection. But really, erection can be a factor of, it can be caused by a lot of things. It can be caused by stress, even when they want to pee. And in the morning, right? So the reason in the morning when you find it standing doesn't necessarily mean that they really want to do it. It's just biology, right? And the moment they stand up, go to the toilet and pee, it goes back down. Okay, Olympus has fallen. So that what I'm trying to say is that it's not necessarily, and that's one thing that I had to learn eventually in marriage, that it's not every time. So don't always assume that because it is up, then you have to get down. No. So have that conversation, right? So that I know what is the difference between arousal and erection, okay? And sometimes there can be arousal and there's no, you know, erection, especially if, you know, the mind is somewhere else and, you know, and stuff like that. So yeah, that's what was one thing that I had to learn in marriage, okay? All right, the next thing I'm going to talk about is the fact that many of us get into marriage thinking that it is the man's job to initiate. I think that now a lot of us are beginning to be educated, but I think a lot of Christian ladies still struggle with this a lot, because I have heard a number of them reach out to me, right? So just so you know, it's okay for you to initiate as the woman. You can ask for it, because just the way he feels it, you also feel it. The way his body is demanding for it, your body also demands for it, right? So, and his body is your body. Go back to the scripture. It says that your body does not belong to you. Your body is your husband's body, and his body is your body, okay? So the moment you feel it, so the way he feels it is the same way you feel it, and the authority he has over his body, it's the same authority God gave you over his own body. So the authority he has over your body is the same authority God gave you over his body, right? So when you feel it, don't be afraid to ask for it. And asking does not have to be verbal, and this goes for both sex, okay? Yes, consent is important, okay? You should ask for consent, but it doesn't have to be verbal in marriage. Yes, right? So I think that, because one of the things that those ladies were complaining, in the Flow app, was that when the man wants it, he's always like, babe, alpha, can we? I don't want you to ask me. I want you to, make me, put me in the mood. And it happens for both partners, right? So if you want him, don't ask him, make him. And I'm not saying force him, I'm not saying force her, I'm saying that put them in the mood. Your partners, you already know what turns each other on, so you don't have to be asking for permission. Sir, please, do you think that you can? What's that? If you need to dress up nice, if you need to like go around the house and shake some things around him, and whatever you think, whatever works for your person or your husband or your wife, do that, okay? That is what I'm saying. So you don't have to wait for them to be the one, especially for you women. Don't always wait for him to be the one to ask for it. You can ask for it when you feel it, because God gave you those urges, and God gave you that man to be able to fulfill those urges, okay? So yeah, the next point that I have here is men love a shy woman. I think our African parents are responsible for this. Yes, they tell you that, oh, a man wants a chaste woman in the bed, a woman that does not know much, a woman that if he says lie down, you just lie down and you just open it for him. Let me tell you something. A confident woman turns a man on more than a shy woman. Yes, it's okay for you if you're naive, if you don't know a lot of things. Like when I got married, I didn't know a lot of things about it, but and I realized that I don't like giving my marriage as examples in this thing, but I realized that then it was exciting. We had a good sex life and stuff, but you see, when I became confident in it, it went to overdrive. It was I'm gonna be like, it was not to get, and you're like, where did that one come from? It excites a man when he sees his woman being confident in her body, knowing what she's doing. It's not and then say let's cover ourselves, let's off the lights, a lot of men actually likes the light on. Yeah, it's statistically proven. I don't know where I found the statistics, but a lot of men actually, because they like to see what they're working with, right? But it's we women, let's off the light, let's close the door, is somebody hearing, let's keep quiet. You are killing the mood, ma. Allow the man. A man wants to see, So anyway, where was I? That men love shy women. It's not necessarily true. I don't know about your partner, but a lot of men actually like a confident woman in the bedroom. A woman that, she can take charge. She can, Anyways, next point. The next point I have here is that long lasting. I'm sorry. You see, they always tell us that a man that can last long, the longer the man can last, the more exciting and enjoyable, exciting that it is for the woman. So when you get into marriage, you are praying for God to give you a man that can last for a long time. But you see, what you forgot to pray about is God will give you the strength and the energy to be able to take the durability, because you will get tired. The longer the tiring. Anyway, continue try that on you. What I'm trying to say is that it's not necessarily true. It's a myth. It's a myth that if a man can go for 2 hours, those are the kind of men that women like. I'm not saying that a 5-minute man or a 30-second man or whatever, but I'm telling you The sex is physically exhausting. Yes. What do you think is going on when you are going up and down, or you are going in and out, you are going shaking body, or you are what do you think you are exerting? It's muscle. It's muscle, my sister. It's muscle. And you get cramps. Like you get muscle cramps. You get muscle pull. You get you get bruises. You get tired. Okay? You get tired. So sometimes it's you that will be begging, oh God, what's going on? Please hurry up. Please, let's round up the ministration for tonight. I'll not forget that you have work. You have work. If you're married, you have children. I mean, if you have kids, you have kids. If you have other responsibilities. So let's even say you're in the mood and all of that. To battle do 1 hour, Lord. If it's going longer than 1 hour, even if you stay till 1 hour, you have strength. When it's going more than 1 hour, but before I got married, I used to fantasize about having sex all night long, like night to morning. Surely, I remember the first day. The first time, I don't want to give more information, but the way I slept, the next morning, the way I was tired. Yeah, so I think the longer I got into marriage, the more I realized that yes, there are times you want to make it exciting and fun and long, but sometimes it doesn't have to always be too long. Sometimes it's just you get quick pleasure and you go to bed and you face the next day. And there are days that you take your time, you make each other feel good, and all of that. But trust me, I've heard a lot of women say that, they fell asleep in the middle. It hasn't happened to me, but I've heard a lot of women, because they've already got into climax, maybe once or twice. The man is still going. They fell asleep. And that's very, very bad. Don't do that, okay? Don't do that. Why do you do that? Don't do that. But that's to tell you that really, it's the longer the tiring. The idea is that satisfy each other and don't overdo. Don't do beyond, because one person will be tired than the other. And as the woman, if you feel like you're tired, maybe you've gotten there, it hasn't, let him know. Communication is very, very important in sex. I said it the last time. You have to communicate during sex. Part of communication is not just the moaning and all of that. It's also to let him know that, babe, I'm really enjoying this, but do you think that we can round up? Yeah. Anyways, the next point that I have here is that sex is always fun. It's not always fun, especially if you're not in the mood. Okay, if you're not in the mood, sex is something that will bring you closer. Let me tell you something. What I'm trying to say in that point is that most times when you're about to start and you are not in the mood and you're tired, it's not fun, because my body is tired. I just came from work, and but because my body is yours, I have to give my body to you. It's always that starting. But you see, there's a song, when the bed do enter body, when the ministry gets started, you just find that inner strength. I think it's inbuilt that God gave us that strength to just, strength to follow through. I can't count how many times that in the beginning I'm like, the moment I feel like, it's about to start and I'm tired, it's not fun for me that moment. But you see, the moment we get into it, it's really exciting. Like, now you're even happy that you did it, right? So yeah, our body is created for the pleasure and for the fun and stuff like that. But most times the getting to it is not always like fun, especially if you're tired and you've had a long day. So that's one thing that I got to learn, that even when I feel tired, when my partner is requesting for it, sometimes I just give in, and then every single time I'm always glad that I did, because we end up both enjoying ourselves, right? And I've heard that happen, in a lot of marriage. Even Pastor Mildred said it, recently in a marriage, right? Even if you're not in the mood and you allow, eventually you'll both enjoy it, right? So that's one thing I had to learn in marriage. The next thing I wrote here is the bigger the better. I think we've already established in this platform that the bigger is not always the better, right? I'm not saying that, you marry someone with I'm not saying that, you go with someone who has a medical condition and stuff like that. There are people that have micropenile and stuff like that, and it's a medical condition, and you guys have to look for ways to compensate in that area. But what I'm talking about is when you're going for I was counseling a lady a while ago, and she was talking about how there was this guy she really likes and all of that, but she feels like he's not big enough. I had to ask her, please show me do you think, is it up to this? But I'm not even joking. I had to ask her because in my head, when I'm thinking, Happy, does he have micropene now? Or is it? No, it's okay. It's like average, but it's not big enough. And in my mind, what's the ideal size for the way it's supposed to be? Trust me, the bigger is not the better. In short, the bigger the painful. Yeah, the bigger the. I mean, I've heard a lot of ladies, talk about, that, like, it's overwhelming, it's painful, and they end up not enjoying it because it's just, so it's not necessarily the bigger the pain, the bigger the better. It's whatever size he has. If he can use it well, the ministry move forward. Okay, so yeah, that's another mindset that I got to know. And then another myth is that the VJ is the most powerful organ. It's the most powerful sexual organ. And that's not true, because your VJ is controlled by your mind. Your mind is actually the most powerful sexual organ. I've come to realize that, see, you can be doing all the aerobatics down there. If my mind is somewhere else, or if her mind or his mind is somewhere else, it doesn't work. Now, you heard a lot of people saying that maybe they are passing through a financial challenge, or they are trying to conceive, and no matter how much they try to stroke the thing, it won't stand. Or no matter how much she tries, she's not just in the mood, because the mind is somewhere. When you put pressure on a man, the erection is not even coming up, not to even talk of the arousal. The same thing happens for the woman. A lot of women just have sex for having it sex to satisfy the other person, because the mind is not there. And that's why I said it in that last video, that you have to first of all condition the mind, do whatever you need to do to get the person aroused, and then let the ministration start. Okay, so the mind is such an important and powerful tool when it comes to intimacy in marriage. Okay, so it's not necessarily the VJ or the penile, right? Now, the next thing that I have here is scheduled sex is not fun. That's not true. If you guys have busy schedules, and I remember if once or twice that one person needed it and the other person was not, like, okay, let's schedule it for tomorrow. Especially if you have kids, you don't really have a choice. You have to look for a way to schedule it, and when you schedule it, you make it fun. Because you schedule it does not mean that it's 5 o'clock now, it's 5 o'clock now, let's start. No. And the thing about scheduling is that we know that, okay, tomorrow night we're going to get down to it. So from today, we start preparing our mind. We start flirting with me, I start flirting with him, we start talking about what we'll do to each other, we start doing stuff, sending him teasing pictures. Don't put your face in the picture. The pictures and stuff like that, sending in pictures of your lingerie and the things you get yourself prepared, even though it's scheduled. Trust me, when the scheduled time and the appointed time comes, you don't need plenty work, right? So scheduled sex is not always boring sex. It actually can be very, very fun. Okay, all right, actually it's nice when you schedule it, right? I'm not saying you do that all the time. I'm saying that there's a way you would have foreplay, romance and do all of that, and you intentionally not get there because you are waiting for like 3 days time. So every time you know what happens, the body is tense, the body is like you romance and whatever, but you don't do it. You romance and whatever, you don't do it. When you not end up getting to it, it's like a lion was unleashed. Yeah. Next point. The next point I have here is that your spouse will know everything you like. Whether you're a man or a woman, nobody knows. Your spouse will not know everything you like, right? Many of us go into marriage with a mindset that this is what men likes. But trust me, your man is not men. Your man is your man. So what might be generalized for men might not be true. And a lot of things are generalized for women, and it's not true, right? So don't assume that because you had ex-girlfriends or you've had ex-boyfriends, when you get into marriage, the same thing that works for your ex-boyfriends or girlfriend is going to work for your spouse. It doesn't work that way, right? It doesn't work that way. You have to ask for what you want. When the person is doing it, even during the act, if you're like, can you go this way? Can you go deeper? Can you go shallower? Can you use your hand? Can you do stuff like that? That's how you get to know and communicate. It's through communication you get to know what the other person likes, and what the other person gets to know what you like. So you have to communicate your needs in marriage, okay? And don't go with I remember when we just started, right? My husband would always ask me, "Do you like that? Is that painful? Do you want me to stop that? Did you like this? Would you want me to do this and stuff?" The reason why we were doing that was because we were new to each other and we needed to understand what works for each other, right? So yeah, and a lot of things my husband thought, "Oh, he doesn't enjoy this, he doesn't like this thing," but he ended up liking them, right? So that's what I'm saying, that the more you communicate, the more you get together, the more you understand your body and the more you understand each other. All right. And then the last point that I have here is that sex dies in marriage. Who First of all, sex is only supposed to be resurrected in marriage. Okay, you're only supposed to resurrect it or to give or birth it in marriage. It's supposed to be birthed in marriage. So how come it's what the reason why sex dies in marriage is because you didn't wait to burn it in marriage. That's why. So you've done and exhausted yourselves before marriage. Now you're not enter marriage. Now you're not saying you're not in the mood. Sex have died. Sex didn't die. You woke up love before it's time. Go and read your Bible. It says that, "Oh ye daughter of Kinekon, do not wake up love before it's time." When you wake up love before it's time, it will go to sleep before it's time. So that's what happened. And you guys need to find ways to like rejuvenate it, to make it fun and exciting again. You need to find excitement in it again. Yeah. There's a statistics that says that couples who wait till marriage to have sex actually last longer than those who don't. It is statistically proven. This is not a matter of what God said, but it's also a matter of what God said. Because sometimes we forget that God is the one that created us. He's our manufacturer. He gave us a guide, a manual for our life. But we believe we know more than the manufacturer. So we'll go and overdo. We'll not get it. We'll not say he died. Oh, I don't feel attracted to him anymore. Oh, this and that. I'm not saying that people who get married virgins don't have issues in their marriage. Every marriage have issues. But I'm telling you that the manufacturer said this is it. Now, scientifically proven. Science is just confirming what God has already said. The statistics are just confirming what God already said, what God already ordained. If we only follow his word, everything will work out fine. But no, we know more than God. We know more than him. So we decide to like explore and all of that. We're not getting too much. We're not saying marriage bed is boring. It's not boring, my dear. You are walking love before it's time. And there are ways to, rejuvenate it. But you guys have to see a sex therapist if your marriage has gotten to a place where you don't think you excite each other anymore. Right? So yeah, that's what I have for today. Now that's 11. Those are 11 myths that people often have about sex. So that I even had about sex in marriage. I hope this has been helpful to you guys. Thank you guys so much for the love you show on this channel. I am super grateful to you guys. I'm so grateful. Thank you guys so very much. Until we meet again, I still remain your favorite girl, Victoria Ayodelefa. I shall see you guys in the next one. All right, until then, have an amazing week. Okay, bye.